Big smiles. Wave, Lani. Wave like you mean it.
Hawaii Entertainment News, where we will talk about all the news that's happening around the film and entertainment industry in Hawaii.
This is our Ohana's land. I'm gonna die before I leave.
All right.
Ohana is a big part of you. You know why? Because you, Hawaiian.
You want to turn back?
Nope, just getting started.
Jane Tennant, Special Agent in Charge, NCIS Hawaii.
And welcome to Season 3 of Hawaii Entertainment News.
I'm Pedro, and welcome to Hawaii Entertainment News.
Aleutian! Torpedo.
Oh my.
I just appeared in a movie, Jungle Cruise, Disney's Jungle Cruise, which was a really exciting moment. And we've been waiting for, I think, 2 years since before the pandemic started for it to come out. I have just a tiny little piece. They cut most of my lines out, but it's still so cool to be part of a Disney movie, to be, you know, sort of part of a canon of one of my favorite rides in Disneyland. So that's pretty cool. And I have a couple of parts in a variety of locally produced movies and TV shows, and then all over town in the community theater productions that have been around. When I was very young, I have an uncle who is a singer. He used to sing with mariachis in Mexico. And when I was about 2 or 3 years old, he would put me out and have me sing in front of people. And I would just sing. And to me, it was sort of silly how people enjoyed it so much. It seemed so silly. It seemed like I felt like a monkey doing a trick, or like a dog, you know, standing up on its hind legs. And even as a small child, I would think, like, I would just roll my eyes and think, people are so easy to please. And I think that's where performance came from for me, was that there was just a natural ability for me to stand up in front of an audience. But at the same time, there was this vulnerability that you don't feel, at least that I don't feel, in any other kind of job that I've ever done. It's that there's nothing there but you. There's nothing there but yourself, your body, your talents, your skills, your preparation. Nobody can save you. Nobody can fake whether you can act or not. Nobody can fake for you whether you can sing or not. Nobody can fake for you whether you have charisma on stage or not. It's just you. And so there's a certain vulnerability that I enjoy so much from when I was, that little, that it's just you and everybody's attention, and you either gotta sink or swim. And I think that I've applied that to so many other aspects in my life, that's why I've always stuck with entertainment, because it's just so challenging. I don't think, and if you don't get nervous before getting in front of an audience, then I think there's some joy that has been taken away, because there's nothing better than having that complete fright before being on stage and letting it all melt away and hearing the applause telling you that you did a good job. It's one of the few things that we do in our life that we get immediate feedback. A lot of times in our jobs, you have to wait till the production's done and people, come back to you, or reviews come out or something, but you get immediate feedback from an audience, that immediate energy, and that's just, there's nothing like it. And so even though I have other careers, other interests, I've always come back to entertainment, because there's just something completely vulnerable about it that nothing else has ever given me. So the first movie that I did was a movie called Snatched, which was with Goldie Hawn and Amy Schumer, Arturo Castro, who was one of the leads in Broad City, a Comedy Central show in Broad City. And I had never done anything before. I had never auditioned for a movie. I had never auditioned for a TV show or anything like that. But they needed somebody who could speak Spanish, and I can speak Spanish. And so the local casting director the assistant to the casting director actually said, "Hey, Pedro, there's this part, would you mind coming in?" I said, "Sure." And I went in, read the thing, got a call back, said, "Can you come back?" "Sure." He did. Then came back again and this time it was with the director of the movie. And he said, "That's great." And he asked me which part I wanted, because I read for several parts. And I thought, oh, well, I like this one because it's funnier. He said, "Okay, well, we'll let you know." And I got cast, and I thought that's how easy it was. Like you just show up a couple times, the director asks you what part you want, and that's how it happens. Because that was my first experience, and so I get in there and I have a trailer and those kind of things, and I just thought that's okay. That's what movie filmmaking is like. This is interesting, and so everything that I've done was just learning on the set from that first time, and it was really exciting because what I just thought was so neat. Was how precise all of the actors were, even though they're having fun. Somebody like Amy Schumer, who's known for her improvisation, but she hit her mark directly on. She knew her lines. She might improvise a couple of things, but I was just so taken back as to how much their craft means to them, and how much I could learn from that, from just being specific. I remember in particular, I was eating at lunch at Craft Services. It was my first time there. I was going up and down, eating everything and all of those things. And I asked Arturo, I said, "Oh, are you going to eat lunch?" And he said, "Yeah, I will, but I'll wait it after our close-up." And I thought, "Our what, the what?" And he said, "Oh, I don't want to look, I want to look thinner on the close-up." And I thought it was like, as I was shoving a shrimp into my mouth, it's like, the what? What's going to happen now? And so I never experienced anything like that. With theater, it was similar. When I first started doing my first show, you kind of just learn by doing. Sure, I'm sure there's classes and training where they teach you, but I just don't think that there's anywhere where they actually teach you, like, well, here's how early you get to a set, and here's what you do in your dressing room, and here's what you do between the times, which is really what most of the time is. There might be classes that teach you acting and all of those things, and that's fine, but sort of how do you behave in a set, how do you, talking to the hair and makeup people, what are they doing there? How do you make sure that you don't get anything on your costume when you're in the middle of mud and things like that? That was, to me, super exciting and learning by doing. I would have enjoyed watching it once where I wasn't in the front of the camera, I think. I think that would have been a little bit less nerve-wracking. But my gosh, like to be able to work with Goldie Hawn and to sit there and be talking about her homes and things like that, and her daughter. She kept saying about her boyfriend and her daughter, and I kept thinking like Kate Hudson? Like, are you talking about Kate Hudson? Like, or do you have another daughter? Like, that's kind of ridiculous to be talking about these. So I've been thoroughly impressed with how professional these productions are. When you think of Hollywood, you think of like, drinking and all of these things, but no, these people, get there on time. They do their job. All of these PAs, all of these people that are making this stuff happen are some of the hardest working people that I've ever seen, and certainly I respect that so much.
This is Leilani Kealoha with Hawaii Entertainment News. The most pressing entertainment news to date is the impending IATSE strike this weekend. The International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees supports the local unions and members by coordinating negotiations of nationwide agreements within the United States and Canada. Workers are gearing up to vote to authorize a strike this weekend amid anger over long production hours without adequate break periods. Overworked and underpaid, our workers need living wages and tolerable hours in order to live. Many people that do not work in the industry are eager to show their solidarity with the union workers, but do not know what to do. Some IATSE members have decided to cancel their streaming subscriptions in hope of sending a message that would hit the studios in the pocketbook. The biggest place to affect a corporation is where their income lies. We here at Hawaii Entertainment News support the workers and encourage non-members to do so as well. Imagine how much money big media would lose if everyone canceled their streaming subscriptions, even for just 1 month. The film Melly finished filming this week. Directed by Amy Glazier and starring Wendy Malick. Stay tuned for more as they begin post-production on this locally made film. Also wrapped this week is the film Jamo Jaya by Justin Chon and the Island Film Group. Congratulations on completing this in record time. NCIS Hawaii has been filming all over town and blowing things up, literally. It premiered nationwide to audiences on September 20th. There's been a lot of outrage over the Doogie Howser reboot because the title actress is not native Hawaiian as the character was written. Also, some erroneous reports have been going out in the press saying that the actress herself was a medical doctor child genius, when that is not true. The character is a child genius, not the actress. And that leads us into a conversation about representation. It happens in most big budget productions where the character has actual character and ethnicity and an actual real body. Yet somehow, what gets actually shown on film is, for lack of a better term, Barbie. Casting is still suffering with the stereotypes and a lack of reality and an overburdened sense of someone's American, Caucasian, and fit, ideal person, which honestly just doesn't really exist. Hawaii surfers did the islands proud on The Ultimate Surfer, with Honolulu's Zeke Lau emerging as the top men's competitor in the reality TV surfing competition. The two final episodes of the ABC show showcased all 4 Hawaii surfers in the competition, which was held at the World Surf League's Surf Ranch in Lemoore, California. Congratulations to all of the surfers, and thank you for representing us well. And now we come to the saddest news of all. Al Harrington has died after suffering a stroke. An icon in the Polynesian entertainment world, we will miss him greatly. He received the Hawaii Academy of Recording Arts Lifetime Achievement Award in 2018. Our hearts go out to his ohana. He is survived by his wife, Rosa Harrington, sons Alima and Tao, daughters Summer Harrington and Cassie Harrington Palmer, and several grandchildren. I have no words to express the sadness that we all feel at the loss of Al Harrington. This is Leilani Ke Aloha with Hawaii Entertainment News.
Oh, Avenue Q is a show that I've loved. I saw it on Broadway twice or 3 times. I can't even remember now. And it's one of those really difficult shows because, singing and dancing is difficult enough, but having a puppet in your hand when you're not a puppeteer is really exciting. But what was really interesting about the production here in Hawaii is that the Broadway production and most productions that I've ever seen anywhere usually have the actors looking straight out along with their puppet. What our director, Anya Chang, had us do is the actors look at the puppet so that the attention would be towards the puppet. And I would say that was my biggest complaint when I saw the show on Broadway, is that you didn't know who exactly you were supposed to be looking at. When you have 2 sets of eyes looking at you, you kind of don't know where your focus should go. So it was really exciting to do that. And as an actor, there's nothing better than not having to look at an audience straight on. So it actually allowed us to really focus our emotions on that puppet in our hand in order to be able to really portray emotion. And I think it allowed the audience to really melt into the suspension of disbelief with the puppets. And so it was super exciting. Anya Chang also added a whole bunch more intricate dancing than I have ever seen. And I'm not a dancer. You'll see that that's not part of my title. And so it was really exciting to just have a little bit of newness into a production that I was very familiar with. So I took a class in college. They have a class at UH Manoa on puppeteering for young children, and I took it only as an elective because it fit my schedule. I never thought that I would actually be using puppets later on in my life. But I learned a little bit about how you use puppets. And the idea is that when you open a mouth, this is what we usually do. We sort of think about puppets. But usually the eyes sit right here, right? So the eyes keep fluttering up and forth, and the audience need to be able to see the eyes of whatever it is that is performing. So instead, you move the bottom. And so to me, that played a lot. I used that a lot in the experience of the production. And I think I did a well enough job, because then you really can think about, if my puppet's eyes are here, then if it's trying to make a connection with the audience, if it's, doing a look out into the audience, then you need to be very cognizant as to what you do with your hand, but also where do you point it to. And sometimes your hand just doesn't do those kind of things. So you have to, that's when you use the rest of your body to be able to cheat out or do those kind of things. But it was really exciting. It's just a skill that I've never had to put on stage, except at that class in UH Manoa. And so I think anytime that as a performer that you use a different skill set, that you learn a different skill set, and people enjoy it. Because you can always use a new skill set and nobody will enjoy it. But when you use a skill set and people seem to enjoy it, that feels like you won $1 million. The time that I was the most scared was, I remember I was doing a karaoke contest at Don Ho's on Aloha Tower. And this was being run by Al Watterson, I remember. And I went, and right before I had to sing, I threw up in the bathroom, because it had been years since I had sang. And unlike acting, singing is one of those things where most people can be a good judge of. They know what they like, and they know what they don't like. And so there's no hiding it. There's no like, oh, well, the play is bad, or, something that you could say, well, I liked your performance, but I didn't really understand the play or something. And so there's just this incredible scare factor about going on stage and singing. So I was at the Al Watterson contest. I threw up. I went on stage. I shook, like the entire hand. My hand shook, and I did terrible. I just did absolutely terrible. And I had always wanted to be a singer. I had always wanted to be that kind of person that could get up and sing in front of an audience. I did it when I was younger. There were many, many years that I just didn't sing. And this was the first time that I was singing in public after, I don't know, since I was a little boy, since I was like 10 years old. And it didn't go well. But I went back. It was a weekly contest. I went back the next week, and I went back the next week, and I went back the next week. And it was one of those where you win the week, then you move on to the monthly. And if you win the monthly, then you move on to the end of the year. And I think the next year I won the year. And so, I didn't give up. That's what I'm proud about. So I typically encourage people to get into acting or any other kind of performance, because it teaches you several things. Number one is it teaches you how to think on your feet. And that's such a skill that actors shouldn't only have. It's not something that only performers should have, that everybody, as you're doing your everyday job, there's so many times when we have to problem solve. There's so many times we have to think on our feet. And a lot of times being in front of the camera is sort of our biggest fear. That our mistakes, that our thinking on our feet, being taped is such a huge fear. But once you do it, you realize how simple it is, how easy it is to be able to continue. But second of all, I think that it's so important, like anything else, it's communication. So anytime that you act, anytime that you sing, you're communicating something. And so the better you are at communications, the better that you are at understanding how other people feel, what other people's needs and desires are, the better they become as an actor, the better that you become as a singer, the better you become as a business person, the better you become as a nonprofit leader, the better that you become as a medical provider. So I think that any of those skill sets are really interchangeable into whatever business it is. And for me, I know that that's been a number one priority, is how to become a better communicator in whatever it is that I do, whether it's an actor, singer, working in the community, talking to my parents, whatever it is. How do you become a better communicator?
Amigo.
Soy americano.
That's okay. Well, I'm not going to use my Spanish.
I speak English.
Oh, good.
And so that's how it has really, really allowed me to flourish, I think. And I encourage anybody out there, if you have the opportunity to take a singing class, a dance class, a acting class, drawing, whatever it is that is an art, it's a communication tool that you'll be able to use in the future. I would say the future for me in entertainment, I am, one of the last shows that I did was We the Invisibles, and that was done by Kailua on Stage Arts, and it was a small play. It was written by a local woman who's not local, Susan Stanton, who's a writer for several national award-winning shows. I believe she just won an Emmy for writing for one of those shows for HBO. And but she wrote a small play about people in the service industry who are invisible, and in particularly an immigrant woman who was raped by a very powerful businessman, and how her story was sort of dragged into obscurity. And so I would love to be able to bring more attention into that. While I love the sound of music and I love any other types of musicals, I think that there's a balance with local theater where we need to be able to expand our horizons in theater that will also help educate and move the needle forward rather than only entertain. I think there's room for all of it. I think we do sometimes need things that just simply entertain us. And I think that we need more artwork that is important to move our own society forward. So I would love to be able to work with more Indigenous voices, being in the Pacific, having more Pacific voices. And not that I need to be particularly involved as a performer or even in any sort of the production, but in being able to support that and being able to lend whatever skills I have to be able to bring those voices forward. Because I think if there's something that we have learned in the past year with the whole Black Lives Matter movement is that there are many communities that are in the shadows. And so we need to be able to figure out how do we bring light into that. And I think the best way to do that is through art. And so whether it's through video projects, whether it's through theater, whether it's through music, whether it's through writing or art or whatever it is, we have the ability to be able to make people feel something that they haven't in the past. And that's what I would love to be involved with. That's what I would love to move into the future and saying I had a great run at doing my fun musical theaters and all of these fun things and continue to do that while still keeping an eye towards what is it that we can use art as a form to be able to advance our social agenda. Even though I love acting and I love performing, there's other loves that I have, and one of them is work in public health. And so that's where my master's degree was. I chose not to go into entertainment because I knew that I could get enough experience on the side, but with public health, which was a really strong passion for me as well, particularly working with disadvantaged populations, working with populations that have higher disease of higher incidence of chronic disease, like Native Hawaiians, immigrants, non-English speakers, was such an important aspect. So while I was going through school and while I was performing, to me, my rule was I didn't want to sacrifice one for the other. That I needed to be able to have the ability to do both. So even while I was, appearing on Hawaii 5.0 or something, I would be doing my work in the back, and everybody would ask me, "What are you working on?" And I'd say, "Oh, I have to do a report for this or that." And they would say, "Oh, you have a real job?" It's like, yes, I have like a real job, and it's really neat because that always came through during Avenue Q. During any time that I wasn't on stage, I was working. And so it does take a little bit of effort, but it can 100% be done. And I always encourage people that I know, I know judges, I know medical doctors, I know lawyers who are performers, who a lot of times give up their performance side because their everyday life gets busy. But these people are very talented. And I think it's a travesty to themselves and to the community that they don't get to experience all of their talents. So I always say you have to find some creative outlet. You have to find some way that you're able to give your art as well out. Because I don't think it's fair that we are, just a flat person in society. If you're a doctor, you're a doctor and that's it. There's many, many doctors who are talented, who are musicians, who took many, many lessons in piano or in other instruments, who could be concert pianists if they chose to. But unfortunately, they give that up thinking that, well, I'm a medical doctor now. And so that's what I do and that's what I should be known for. Or, sometimes people think, well, people won't respect me if they hear me singing, in something. And that's just not true. It's completely the opposite because people can relate to you in a different way that they might not have related to you otherwise. I work as the executive director for the American Lung Association, heading over the operations here in Hawaii and across the islands. So the American Lung Association has our 1-800-LUNG-USA line. That's 1-800-LUNG-USA. And in there, we answer questions about COVID-19 and the vaccine, about lung cancer, COPD, quitting tobacco, anything that has to do with lung. And we're really excited about that because it's a free service and anybody in Hawaii can call, anybody across the country can call. So this is something that you can share with your family here or across the mainland. And it's answered by healthcare professionals who are able to answer your questions free of judgment. And so if you have any questions about COVID-19, the vaccine, or any other lung disease, it's 1-800-LUNG-USA.
Next time on Hawaii Entertainment News.
I am 49 years old right now. I turned 50 in April. And it is one of those things that I never knew I wanted to do. I didn't know I wanted to be an actor. I want to be a legend. I want to be like, how the hell did that person do that? It just goes from done and next. That's it. It's done and next, done and next. And you're proud of yourself. You're proud of what you accomplished, but it's just like, man, you're not done. As soon as you get it, it's like, what's next? It's not about the journey. It's about winning. That's it. Winning is everything. You know, the journey, okay, yeah. Actually, the journey fucking sucks. The journey sucks. And if it doesn't suck, guess what? You're doing it wrong. So you have to bust your ass on that journey. And the journey's gonna suck. The win's great, but the problem is the win is fleeting. And then it's next. You have that little window.
Big smiles. Wave, Lani. Wave like you mean it.
Hawaii Entertainment News, where we will talk about all the news that's happening around the film and entertainment industry in Hawaii.
This is our Ohana's land. I'm gonna die before I leave.
All right.
Ohana is a big part of you. You know why? Because you, Hawaiian.
Do you want to turn back?
Nope, just getting started.
Jane Tennant, Special Agent in Charge, NCIS Hawaii.
And welcome to Season 3 of Hawaii Entertainment News.
Is that it?
I think so.